And welcome back. This is the High and Wide post-game show. The Philadelphia Flyers almost pulled off a miracle. They fall short to the defending Cup champs, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, what a game! I mean,
Whew.
some definite highs and lows, some late game serious drama, and much like another game earlier in the season, they just couldn't finish things off. They were just done playing, and it was a shame. It had for who they played, it had some reflections to the first game of the season when you think about the goal Carter Hart gave up and how that game
Yeah.
ended. But
Mhm.
I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Flyers do fall 4-3 to the Tampa Bay Lightning at home. Um, a very late game, very late, two late game goals. Um, the shots, I'll go right down the tail of the tape here. The game stats. The Lightning outshot the Flyers 32-30. Flyers just snuck by on the face-off percentage, 51.8 to 48.2. Flyers had two power plays, which they came up empty on both. Not that anybody out there is really surprised about that. However, the Lightning did get one of three. The Lightning led it 24-20 in hits. Both teams had 20 blocks. Flyers had less giveaways, and the Lightning had more takeaways. And essentially, a game where I thought the Flyers didn't stand much of a chance, a week where I was not high on the Flyers. So far, two pretty decent performances when
Yeah.
you look at the end result. Before we get into that, first period, almost right away, not even settled in yet. Claude Giroux with an absolute beauty of a goal. Nat, I haven't even said anything about you yet. It's like I'm talking to myself. Nat Fink, the post game guru is here with me. I think you have the most up to date. So I'll let you take it from here. Your thoughts on the first goal and just take it into the first period.
I was, I was so hyped after that first goal because of who we were playing. But that was like, as I've said, I feel like I've said it a lot this season. That was classic Giroux. Like, we're so down on him for so long, like over the past few years, and he's just come back to be like, yeah, I'm the captain and I still have moves. And I, who was it, that Broussard who just like that little, give him credit
Start
too, because he just, yeah, who just like that little smooth little pass to him was excellent as well.
Broussard got the
So
assist on the goal. It was a beaut. What can you say? Goes to the
yeah,
backhand and just holds it. And they always say on a breakaway, he who moves first loses. And it did look like Vasilevsky moved first, and Drew made it look easy. And it's like to start a game off against that team, score less than a minute and a half in the game was enormous. I can't even tell you. And especially, this is a team that we discussed on our pod that has not scored in the first period since I want to say either the Edmonton or Vancouver game. That's how long ago it was. Like that. I think that might have still been in the month of October. It might have been early November.
yeah.
I'm not sure. The point is a very long time. And considering they haven't scored more than 2 or 3 goals a game, really two, I think first period scoring has had a lot to do with that because the second period has been a pretty bad period for them. So not only they get that goal, but then Konechny comes
Whew.
through, beats Vasilevsky. Nat, your thoughts on Konechny getting on the board?
I was so impressed that from from top to bottom he did it all. He caused the turnover. It was very like Cam Atkinson-ish, like
Yeah.
um, he just, he turned it up. Sometimes he doesn't turn it up, but like as soon as he got that turnover, he's like, yeah, this is mine, and I'm scoring. It was,
An absolute beauty of a shot.
yeah.
When you beat a guy like Vasilevsky, you got to feel really good about yourself. And it's
Oh,
an unassisted
absolutely.
goal, which just goes to the point that he pretty much did it all
It's
himself.
perfect location too. Like,
Yeah, I mean, with Vasilevsky, you have to be,
yeah.
and it's to go. They're up 2-0 going into the first intermission. And before we move on to the second period, is there anything else you saw in the first period, whether it was concerning or a precursor or anything like that?
I mean, I still think that look how we scored our two goals. Again, that wasn't great offense. That was great like individual plays. You know, So we need to set something up on offense.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that a little bit because this counterattack stuff, this opportunistic stuff, it's fun, it's exciting, but it should not be something they live and die by. They need to have sustained pressure, which I believe they got later in the game. However, they did take a penalty late in the first period. They actually, going into the second period, managed to kill that off. It was a wrist the line of interference call. And that was fine and dandy. They killed it off. It was a close play. I did think the referees made the right call there. And then Justin Braun almost immediately. And I can be honest with you, I think Justin Braun had a pretty rough night.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he takes his penalty. Now, did the guy embellish a little bit? I mean, a little bit, definitely. Was it enough to get called? I don't know. They don't call that anymore.
I don't know what is and isn't a penalty anymore. And I mean, I guess it was a bad penalty for tonight because there wasn't many, that they called in comparison to the others.
That's kind of what it came down to. I mean, when I look at what I saw and when I read back the tail of the game, and it was like 3 penalties for Lightning, 2 for us, I was like, that's it? That's all it was? And I guess it was. They really will put the whistles away tonight. And normally you think, or if you're any other fan of another team, you're kind of pissed off about that because you feel like your team got screwed. But with the Flyers, maybe it's best that they weren't on the power play at times. Now, in this game particularly, I don't think they were as bad. They had a couple of close calls, but they also were pressuring. So I don't want to kill them. And they were playing a very good team with a very, very good goalie. So I won't kill them this game. They get to buy this game.
Yeah, they only had 2 power plays. I mean, I don't.
But it's a lot to ask of these guys.
But can I just say something about the power play real quick? Isn't it very predictable when Drew is always in the same spot on the power play?
They just change things up. Just even if whether you start that way or you start the old way and rotate, just change it up. There's so many times where they make these they're moving the puck around and it looks like they have something. Somebody drops to a knee and they have a pass and they have, here we go. They're going to find a shooting lane. And all of a sudden they kick it back out to the point. Usually it's Provorov. And it's like they just reset the whole thing. It's we didn't like it. We're going to start over.
They're never in the high slot either. I think, I remember when they had the empty net at the end, Sanheim took a shot from there. But reset the whole thing. It's just so predictable.
I mean, predictable is the perfect word. I mean, it really is because, like you said, if it wasn't, I do think that other teams would be in shambles more often. But they're pretty confident in when an opportunity arises where you think they're going to have an opening shooting lane, and they kick it back out to the point, and it ends up being nothing. It's because they're predictable, and the Lightning were able to fix themselves so that they didn't have that shooting lane anymore. And the Flyers just back off. There's no, and only when it gets desperate do you see things happen, really. But other than that, it's just passing the puck around, and they just killed so much time tonight on their, it was only 2 power plays. But still, I don't want to give them too many excuses because it's just another offer where you're playing a team that's clearly better than you. You have to capitalize when given these opportunities. You can't just squander them as you usually do. You're not playing Buffalo. You're not playing Phoenix or Arizona. This is Tampa. You get a power play, it's a gift. You need to cash in. And while ultimately they still stole a point and they only had 2 power plays, they still didn't get anything from it. And it's very aggravating. I honestly think they get better chances on their PK, and that's it's great PK, but you can't that's not a winning formula going forward, which is ultimately how we came into this week with these 3 teams we were going to play coming up: Calgary, Tampa, and then Boston. It was very hard for me to have any confidence, and they took care of business against Calgary. That's my credit. And I did say they go 0-2-1, so I'm not going to give myself too much credit. But I did say if they win that game, it'll be a 1-0, 2-1, maybe 3-2. They won the game 2-1 in overtime. So at least if they're going to win, they're not blowing anybody out by any stretch of the imagination. And that's not you cannot do that all season. Now, I understand Hayes was a very late scratch. So before we go on to the second period, real quick, did that concern you at all? Because we all saw what happened in the Calgary game. I thought he was done right there. I'm thinking he's gone for another however long he was out the first time. That looked like he completely re-injured it. He shows up in the third period, but now he's out. So, I mean, just your whole thoughts on the Kevin Hayes thing.
Well, I was concerned, but I thought I heard that AV said that he was playing today, and
Bill Meltzer's a guy I always check the lineup with him on how he posts his articles on Hockey Buzz, and I'll put his starting lineup. And Hayes was in there, and he's pretty accurate. So apparently, Alain Vigneault alluded to somebody being 50-50 questionable. It wouldn't say who, because Sam Cardici mentioned this on Twitter, but he wouldn't say who, and people speculated that it was maybe Konechny, it was maybe somebody else. Nobody really said Hayes, and sure enough, it's Hayes. So, I mean, do you think this is something that you think we see him in Boston, or do you think this might linger?
I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I would hope so, but the only thing is, like, if he's out there, was last minute, was he actually skating, warming up?
I thought I read something about who did skate. It'll take me a while to find it, but I would assume he did. But here's my two things. Like, the first thing is you see what happened on the play, and you're like, he's out. He's done. I don't know how long, probably longer than I like it to be, but he's out.
Yeah.
But then he comes back in the third. So you're like, well, it can't be that bad if he's back in the third. So I don't know. Maybe he went to bed and he woke up incredibly sore or something. Like, I have no idea. But if I were a betting man, I don't think he plays in Boston. I think they're taking this, they got a decent enough team. They're without Ellis. They're without Hayes. They're without Allison, if you want to throw that in there. And they almost beat Tampa. Like, they had a 2-0 lead. They tied it late on. And even the goal that, took the lead for Tampa was one of those, why did the hockey gods hate us so much? Do you really think Hart was out of position in any way, shape, or form? Now, obviously, somebody can come in and be like, oh, yeah, well, the puck went in. Obviously, he is. I'm like, I don't know. I think it was a well-placed shot from Stamkos that just found its way in the net. It's just one of those, F Flyers fans. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself.
I mean, I wish I saw, I wish I saw the other angle, from where Stamkos shot it. I'd like to see, from his angle.
Oh, yeah, completely down the line.
Yeah, I would like to see that, because I don't exactly understand how the puck went in.
It was weird. It's because he completely had the post. He had the one pad knee down, and it had to have gone 5-hole. That's the only thing I can think. I don't know how, but based on how it snuck through him and where he was, it was either somehow under his arm, which angle-wise doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or it somehow bounced off of a pad and went through his legs. That's what I think would happen. But he looks pretty tight.
Because he looked confident on the shot. Then it was he just looked back. I was like, oh crap.
It was really one of those. Are you kidding me? Again with this? What do I have to do?
I was having flashbacks. I'm like, no.
It's tough. You don't want to come out and have to challenge the shooter from an angle like that, because you're leave the whole net open. So I don't know. I'm not a goalie. We'll have to bring Jason Martinez on and explain what the hell's going on with that. But that is tough. But again, as usual, my post game shows, I jump all over and can't keep a straight line to save my life. So second period, they come out, they kill the penalty. Justin Braun takes a tough penalty, and they almost score immediately on that one. It was a play where Stamkos. I agree with Jonesy and Jim Jackson. It looked like the pass was actually going cross ice and was intercepted by Point, and he made a hell of a play. It ended up being the play of the game. Winds up in the net, and you're kind of like, you knew they were going to strike. They're the Lightning. You knew they were going to score. Point was all over the ice on it. However, that was his only goal, but it was a power play goal. It's nice when teams score on the power play. And, the lead was cut in half at that point, and now I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. Before I move on with the rest of the second period, anything on the penalty or the power play itself?
No, I mean, I thought, I was kind of slightly upset with Risto and Sanheim there. But, what are you going to do with Point there? I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
sometimes you tip your cap, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I don't even think they planned it. Point one is a stud. I've always liked Point.
Yeah.
And we know he's a stud, and it was a good play. It was a play of the game. So what are you gonna do? Tip your hat. It is what it is. I didn't like the penalty. I thought it was a lazy play by Braun. I don't know who he tripped. I can't remember at this point, but he definitely embellished.
Yeah.
They don't really call it anymore, so I'm not going to complain and say like, oh, we're getting screwed or anything, but he definitely embellished it. Let's be real. His arms went up like a soccer player and he went down.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. Whatever. So that was one of the plays they did call. It was the second one of the game, and it burnt the Flyers pretty bad. Then after that, I really started to notice Braun on a couple of plays. There was one where Point was hustling down the boards, and Braun just gave up on skating backwards. He's like, there is no way I'm keeping up with this guy. So he just turns around, but he like bumps into a Flyer. I don't know who it was, but he just bumps into him, and it's just like, we cannot fall to pieces. Like, come on, I'll come out to this 2-0 lead. We cannot start falling to pieces. Luckily, that wasn't the goal. And it wasn't another power play. It was a 5-on-5, but somebody got behind Braun, and it was like a bang bang kind of play. It was that was
Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph. Just the puck, almost like a looky what I found, but the timing had to be right, and he manages to tie the game. And you even see Braun kind of, I don't know if he was trying to stop it or swat at it, or I don't know what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
ended up bouncing right by him. And boom, just like that, it's 2-2. Flyers were in kind of like what you said when they played Carolina, and you were like they were in desperation mode, survival mode.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get out of that period, which for them has been a very bad period. The second period, they occasionally score, which is weird in the second period, where the first period has kind of fallen off for them. But overall, second period is a pretty rough period for them. They survive that period. It's 2-2. They go into the third. At that point, I felt they picked up play considerably. I feel like they had some calls go their way. I mean, they didn't score, and they had some, they gave up some opportunities, to say the least, but they had some opportunities of their own. I believe it was the Pat Maroon. He swatted the puck over the glass.
Yeah.
They don't come through. That's okay, because overall they were driving play more. Everybody was playing pretty well at this point. There's nobody I could single out as bad. Hart kept up his overall, outside of the last goal of the game. I saw the one that we thought lost it for us. I thought he again had a very good game. So before I talk about that goal, what are your thoughts on the third period and Carter Hart?
Well, Hart, again, there's nothing to say but good things, even if you do make one bad mistake. That wasn't I still don't even think it's a bad mistake, but it was just, it shouldn't happen still. But no, I just, he has been, I think he has kind of, in situations where we don't have anything together, he's the one, I think, who inspires them to come out in the third period and be like, you know what, maybe things aren't working, but we're going to, hustle our asses off, to get this done. Whereas, it never was that way, in the past, in at least year, but now I think he is the person who I think is the catalyst, I guess,
No, I actually agree with that point. I do think the stability of the defense and the fact that he's not getting 2-on-0s, 2-on-1s, 3, all these odd man rushes where he's getting screwed, and he's able to play his game. You can see it's put confidence back in his game, and he's therefore being the goaltender that you can rely on.
Mm-hmm.
And when he is now that the confidence back, he's making great saves.
Yeah,
he's making saves that you can tell was a good shot, and he had to be positionally there.
By the way, we've completely ignored the fact his save on Colton.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because he played spoiler to these Jersey kids in back-to-back games. Gaudreau was all over Hart on Tuesday, and he stopped all of them. And Colton was 4. He had 4 opportunities. Yeah. And the last one especially, he just shut him down every time. And it was like, nope, sorry to be party pooper. And they said that on air. I'm stealing party pooper.
Yeah.
But still, like, it's true. Like, he stood up. That's why when this last goal goes in, the first thought is, did they swap him for somebody else? Like, what the hell just happened? He was really, really good. And you're right. Poor Russ Colton. I heard they said he had like 20 to 30 people there. Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, I think that's funny because I spoke on Full Circle. We had a Rangers guy on, and he said there was like a prospect that was never going to make the Rangers, but he did get one preseason game, and they charged him for like almost every ticket, and he had like 12 people there. And this is Rangers preseason game, and they're like $100 a ticket. And he's like, I'm a AHL maybe rookie. I have like $2,200 in my account. This is going to cost me like $1,200, you know? So, you know, obviously Russ Colton's an NHL player and a Stanley Cup champion. That's a big difference. But still, it's like 20 to 30 people. My God. But, you know, whatever. Good for him. It's a real shame. He made a nice defensive play late in the game, but, like, to not get that goal when he should have at least had one of four. Like, what is he, the Buffalo Bills? Like, he can't even get one? That was tough. And real quick, I wanted to point out the shots per period. So the Flyers in the first period had 2 goals. They only had 5 shots. 5 shots on net. Tampa had 13 in the first and the second. Obviously, 2 goals in the second. The Flyers had more shots in the second with 9, but you got to assume they were low percentage. And one thing we almost skipped over, or I think we alluded to early, actually. Their offensive style is not sustainable. It's a problem. No. I mean, I really just saw it in the second period, but you can't give teams a period where you're just like, we're just going to like play defensively sort of and run and gun it. Like, they're doing this home run pass. Let's get the puck out of the zone. I wish I could find time of attack for the second period, because it would have been like 16 minutes for Tampa with 2 minutes of neutral zone play. I mean, how concerned
are
you?
Game, I think the whole game they still can't sustain anything. And it wasn't just the second period.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's the first as well. Even the 2 goals were especially Giroux's, were very opportunistic. It wasn't until the third I started to see. I wouldn't say it was perfect by any means, but at least more sustained pressure.
Like, I felt in the third period they were more stopping the Lightning, you know, from controlling as opposed to setting anything up. They were in control, but somehow not doing anything with the control.
You know? I mean, it seemed like they had the puck in the other zone and were keeping Tampa out of like danger zones for a little bit. And what?
Jack, I don't think I can hear you.
You can't. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We were still talking about the about. When I made my point about control, they can't like they can control, but they don't do anything with control, and that's when I kind of lost your response to that.
I just went off air, apparently. No, so like this is something that goes back to like, and it's not on Drew, it's not, but it's like where he kind of took over as captain. I'm going back to like 2013-14, like Steve Mason's the goalie, like that time. They've been these like third period comeback kids. Back in 2013-14, where they played the Rangers in the first round, and the Rangers eventually went to the Cup, and they took them to Game 7. It worked for them. It worked for the Flyers then. They were coming back in games. But in what world is that a sustainable system going forward? Let's get down in every game. Year to year, we're assuming that these teams we're playing against aren't going to make adjustments, you know?
Yeah.
And we're going to keep continuously come back. Like, it's not going to work. And you saw that. And they went through like 2 coaches at that point before they tried changing things up. And it's just like they do that. I call it desperation third. If they do anything for you in the first period, like usually it's nothing. I'll give them that. As bad as they play, they usually don't give up a goal. So it's like nothing. And the second period is a dumpster fire, and it's desperation third. So while they weren't down going into the third, like it's concerning that they don't have pressure at all for 60 minutes. Like that's a long time. But yes, they had to kill a penalty at some times. They had a power play where they had some kind of sustained pressure, and they did have 2 goals in the first. But let's be real, like they did not score system goals. They did not cycle the puck. It was a breakaway. It was a nice play. Don't get me wrong. But
I can't think of one when they have.
No, I mean the Provorov power play goal, which was one of their first against Dallas, and a losing effort, was like one of the first.
Count power play goals though, like
it's just like
I just want to see a full strength, even strength.
I know. Yeah, you're right, because they're up a man. But for the power play purposes, it's a big win. How bad that's been. But 5-on-5, enter the zone, get set up, and then score. That's a good question. Like I can't remember. Like they're very run and gun. Either they're lobbing the Hail Mary pass or they're bouncing it off the boards, and Farabee's skating up and getting a mini breakaway, and like in the Carolina game or something like that. So it's I'm sure there's more than it's slipping my mind, but like it's definitely not enough that I have to think hard about when's the last time they set up in the offensive zone. It wasn't a power play, and they came through. And it's few and far between. It's definitely not enough. While this was a nice 4-3, we got a point out of this. Like that, 3 goals is really not high scoring. And when you consider how they got the last goal, like this team pretty much scored at the very beginning of the game and literally the very end. And everything in between was just like it was rough, especially until the third period, which they started to pick things up. But then again, they're having trouble finishing. And with this team, I'll give them a pass, because Vasilevsky, he's damn good. And this team in general is damn good. So before I get ahead of myself and keep talking endlessly, and before we get to the goals, your thoughts on the effort in the third period?
No, I thought it was great, but like as you were saying, I mean, people on Twitter, like they complain, we're like, oh, you can't play a complete game. You can play a complete game. Like because the Flyers take themselves out of a period. All I want from you is just to show up and play consistently. You don't have to dominate for 60 minutes.
Oh, yes, like they don't have to be in Tampa zone the whole time.
Yeah.
They don't have to be flawless and not taking penalties. Like all you want to see is they're still hitting. They're still being defensively responsible. They're still clearing the puck. They're not doing blind passes. They're not icing the puck. Like you want to see those things. You don't want to see them discombobulated in their own end and losing, and Hart did have to bail them out a couple of times in that second period. So yeah, you're not asking for, I need at least 2 goals per period to know you're playing 60 minutes. Like it's not like that. But when they take time off, it's very Hart is saving their ass.
Yeah.
And if you if you didn't watch this game and you hit the highlights and you could look at the stats, and some people interpret that one way or another. And you saw the last goal that Hart gave up, and I'll just transition into that. You're just like, he's not a franchise goalie, blah, blah, blah. And I know there's people out there who do that shit, even though he stood on his head again tonight. Ultimately, and you said they played better in the third, which I alluded to as well. That was their highest shot totals, 12 shots in the third period to Tampa's 3, and one of those stupid shots went in. I even remember Jonesy saying, like, the Flyers have not given up a shot, except for, or maybe it was Taron Hatcher. That last opportunity by Ross Colton was their first shot of the period. It was a doozy, but they didn't. It was still the first shot of the game. Hart, of course, that would disappear completely. I just want to give you Hart's stats on the night. He made 29 saves on 32 shots, gave up a power play goal, and obviously lost it in the shootout. So the goal that we were kind of dancing around here was, what was there, like 1 minute and 8 seconds left? Like it was almost nothing. I thought it was Stamkos. Am I wrong?
It was Stamkos.
Okay, good. For some reason, I last second doubts. It was Stamkos, throws it on net, and as we discussed earlier, it looked like it bounced through his legs, winds up in the net. shades of last year, shades of Vancouver, that game for sure. Nat, what the hell happened?
I mean, it's just a fluke. I mean, it's that it's just snake bitten Flyers. I mean, there's nothing to like discuss about that other than we don't know what happened. Quite honestly,
I curse the hockey gods to back up your point is we don't know what happened because, like, are you kidding me? Like, again, with this, and I don't want to get into it too much because we alluded to it earlier, but at this point in the game, you're thinking we just lost a point, potentially two, because against this team, which you want to get at least a point, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. How does that go in? So don't ask me to explain it. It finds its way in the net, and you're thinking, here we go again.
Like I just feel like like, oh, it's this roller coaster. Oh, we're playing like really well right now. Something's just gonna happen to we're down on the roller coaster again. And it's like I feel like it happens a lot where like you just
too much for this team, for one team, it happens way too much to the point where I think teams do it to Hart. The game right after, I think Seattle did it to Hart a lot because that was right after the Vancouver game. And it's just like, yeah, this guy's having trouble with his angles. Why not take tough angle shots? But luckily for us,
Captain it's fun to watch. I will say that, it's, it wouldn't be fun without the result, but,
I know.
But, I was enjoying that game. Like in the third period, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I just hope it doesn't keep up that way for their own sake, because I think when you show up in the third period, it has ramifications, when you don't show up for the rest of the game and you have to, keep on doing stuff like that. But,
No, you're not wrong. And it's a shame because that was a phenomenal game at that point in the sense that it wasn't the most exciting game, but it wasn't bad, and it was tied. You're tied with Tampa. Yeah. You're looking at overtime in the face, and that happens. Well, Captain Claw wasn't done. As quickly as he started the game, as little time as it took him to score, he waited till almost literally the last second, 8 and change left, with the goalie pulled, fires a shot on net, and it finds its way in, and we find ourselves in overtime. I barely remember even how it happened. I just know
it was off the face-off.
Yeah, right off the face-off, fires it, and I just hear Jim Jackson like, he scored, and everybody went ape shit. I'm like, I cannot. I got in trouble for my wife because she's asleep, as is my son, and it's just like, I cannot believe they tied the game. The Hart has carried them almost essentially all year, and they finally pick him up after a bad goal. At least the captain does, and it's like, wow. So what were you thinking when that went in?
I was setting up my computer to do this. I'm like, okay, we're good. And then and I just like I'm like, wait, what?
Luckily for me, I already had it set up. But go ahead.
Like when you look at the replay, the journey that puck took into the net, you're like the guy is like a craftsman. He's like, it was. I don't know how you get it so perfect. It's like art.
I mean, when I look at the parallels with the very first game of the season against Vancouver in this game, outside of the talent difference in the opponent, they both teams had a very bad second period. Both games had a very bad goal, two in Vancouver, one in this game from Hart, with the Stamkos goal. And both had Giroux tie the game with almost no time left. One was a one-timer, and this was something off the face-off. And either way, they're going to overtime. And, man, overtime was fun.
Yeah.
I really thought Atkinson might have a chance of scoring, but it just seemed like he wasn't able to give his best shot.
Yeah.
Because somebody was kind of behind him. And both goalies did what they had to do. It was a possession game. I liked your tweet, because I was thinking the same thing in the back of my mind. I don't like Braden Point.
No.
And you know what I was thinking?
Speed, in a 3-on-3 situation, in his move, no way.
Yeah.
I always feel good when the Flyers are 3-on-3, and I don't know why, because we're not the fastest team in the world. But I feel like all of a sudden, when we're in overtime, I feel like we always have the edge. Even last year, I felt that way. And maybe it's because we have people like Drew leading the way, and Couturier out there,
I have to agree because those are the guys who tend to be able to. We're a team that can score on the counter rush, on the the home run pass, and that's all that overtime really is. Like
Yeah.
broken play, a 2-on-1
Yeah,
odd
that
man
makes perfect
rush,
sense when you think about it.
and
That's
I
why it
think
feels
that's
so
why they
good.
thrive. Yeah, I think that's why they always have good opportunities. They don't always score, but they usually. I'm sure their overtime their overtime percentage is pretty good. And the opportunities were there on both sides. Hedman had a chance, and when I realized it was Hedman coming in, I felt a little bit stronger. He missed the net. I was like, all right, well, it was like when Braun had a couple opportunities tonight, and he missed the net. I was like, well, it's a defenseman. But even though as good as Hedman is, I was like, if that were Stamkos or Point, that's probably a goal. But luckily, it wasn't, and it was a really fun overtime. And you knew it. We all knew it. And to parallel that Vancouver game, almost a very similar shootout there, where the Flyers are just like, "Hey guys, we gave you enough tonight. We tied it late. We kind of took the second period off, but Hart played well. We scored 3 goals against this team. They're really tough, and we gave it all we had in overtime. So we're just going to punt on the shootout."
Yeah.
As Couturier, oh my God, his attempt was I mean, Drew's wasn't very much wasn't better, but Couturier just came down, and he might as well just shove the stick and the puck into the pad. Like I thought for sure he was going to switch to the backhand or move to the other side of the net in some way, shape, or form, and he just didn't. I was like, what is he done with tonight? You just give up? I don't know. Your thoughts on the dreaded shootout?
I don't understand why we have to get so close to the goaltender before we make the best move. Like, how close are you gonna get before you think you can do something? It's like a 7-year-old in Pee Wee just going up, not ready, not completing their thought of what they're gonna do, and it's like, oh, it's too late now. I can't do anything because the goalie's too close to me.
I have to apologize. I am very upset. I had the ticker going. I edited the ticker for tonight's game, and it reverted back to the Calgary.
Oh yeah, I know. I was gonna get you on that.
I just realized.
I'm sitting here watching that, but
I just realized. I'm like, I typed the whole thing out. I had really fun play on words and everything, and it's just playing the Calgary thing. So I apologize for that. It had something to do with the shootout, which made me look at it. And now I don't remember what I wrote. But the point being, when it gets to the shootout, Flyers check out. And Hart gets a lot of hate, and I can't say it's unwarranted because he looks disinterested as well. But at the same time, I can't hate on the goalie too much. But Drew's attempt, especially Couturier's attempt, were embarrassing. And it's like, man, don't you want these 2 points? Just go out there and have fun.
As soon as you take that wide angle, I know you're done. I just you can predict what happens every time they go up.
Yeah, when they're looking down the barrel at Vasilevsky, it's like they just say nah.
We send I always I think I love him too much, but I think we should send Atkinson.
He's here to score. Of course we should send. I would have. Well, hindsight's 2020, but Drew, you have to put in. He's got 2 goals on the night.
Or at least let him go first. Not Couturier go first.
And why do we got to shoot first? Am I the one who dislikes that? I feel like it gives.
That's true.
It takes confidence away from Hart. I feel like he's just here we go again. I'm going to have to save 5 in a row to even have a chance at this. And which he probably knows he's not the best at. He's a good breakaway goalie, but shootout, he's for whatever reason,
Should be like baseball, you get the last licks,
I mean, if you can choose, I don't know who chooses. I forget who chooses, but why are they electing to shoot first? I've never seen that work. Not in the last.
Well, maybe I probably should know this rule, but they elect as the home team.
I thought so, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was the away team either. They give them the opportunity or something. I don't know. I forget. But
anyway, but you go with the mindset. Hart is your guy who's carried your back the entire season, so let him end it.
I feel like it will give them confidence. If he makes a save, even if he doesn't, because you still have a shot still. When you don't score and then get scored on, that's much worse than if Hart would just get scored on first and you still have a shot. Or if he makes a save, which I feel like he has a better opportunity of taking the first shot. That's just how I feel. It's a confidence thing. They're all human. Now you have more confidence going in with your shot. You can kind of take a chance. You can kind of have fun with it because it's tied if you don't score, or you score, and that's huge in only a 3-round shootout. But I'm not going to harp on that too much because I don't know who ultimately made the decision. The long story short, this team is, ever since the inception of the shootout, has been an absolute joke.
Yeah, I don't know one person who thinks it's a good thing, and that's like, should the NHL pick up on that?
I wish they could just do. They got to end it some way. I hate ties. I just wish overtime was like another 5 minutes. Let's make it 10 minutes. Am I crazy?
I don't hate ties. I miss ties.
You like to tie, huh?
I
hate ties.
Play 5 minutes of overtime and
just tie.
But I like I like the 3-on-3. I thought it was a slap in the face to hockey when it first started because it turned into like a skills competition.
It's fun though, right? 3-on-3.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's too much fun to say, "Oh, take it away."
Its own little strategy. It's got its own little strategy to it. It's all about possession, but so many broken plays. You have so many back and forth plays. It's fun.
And it caters to the Flyer style of play.
Yeah, well, that's true because the shootout certainly doesn't. So, yeah, I'll definitely take that. But ultimately, the Flyers do come away with a point. So as I had them going 0-2-1, so far they're 1-0-1. So out of a possible 6 points this week, they have half, and they could get 2 more on Saturday against a team in Boston that, 1, they already beat, and 2, isn't playing all that well right now. So before we let me get this out of the way. This is one thing I did save from the banner. Don't have the read, but please go to MyBookie. As you know, MyBookie, you can double your first deposit up to $1,000 with the promo code High and Wide. Not HW, it's High and Wide. Spell it out, High and Wide. And finally, who's your Yeats player of the game? It's got to be a Flyer. I don't want to hear Braden Point. I'm between 2 players, but I'll let you go first.
Giroux. I'm not even thinking about it.
I got to go Giroux as well. I think Hart was up there, but that last goal and the shootout itself was a little too much. I know Giroux didn't have the best shootout goal, but come on, 2 goals to start the game and to tie the game and get that point, got to be Giroux. So, yes.
Yeah.
Yeats, the promo code for Yeats is, and look at these things. Come on. Like, these are fantastic. I'm like the Flyers Randy Savage. Like, you can't.
I want the colorful one that Jim has.
But these are Flyers. What time? I don't even know which one he has.
Jim has like really funky. I want his, but like with some orange.
Your headphones are orange.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. I bought them, idiot. Yeah, no. The point is, there's some fun stuff over there. Not necessarily something I could see people wearing while they like drive their car, but for fun, for style, they got all sorts of different ones there. HW, save up to 10% or more. And MyBookie, double that first deposit up to 1,000. Carter Hart, the odds on Carter Hart winning the Vezina. I don't think they took much of a hit tonight. So by all means, get that $1,000 deposit, put 2,000 on them. Let's go. Use the code HW. And finally, Nat, before we sign off here, what are your thoughts on the Boston game on Saturday?
I think that we're playing consistently pretty well, and I think we're going to be ready for Boston. So I think we match up well against Boston. I think for the most part, I think we always show up to play because we know it's a rivalry. I think with them and the Penguins, you're not going to see it. Even though one crappy Penguin game this year, but they didn't have Crosby and whatnot. So I think there's certain games that they know that mean something to Philadelphia. And I really think the Flyers kind of always have that in their head. And they play, I think they always play like a little edge to them. I probably see a little more, hitting, a little more anger, a little more, aggressiveness. So I think we'll have an enjoyable game to watch. We're not going to get blown out.
Right. And as you know, you think Martin Jones gets to start? He beat him last time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think he should be starting, right? So
Yeah,
If it
I
makes any
mean,
sense.
I would if you have to get him in and you want him off too long. He looked good. I mean, I think they won. What they won 6-3 was the
Yeah.
first win against Boston. I doubt they score 6 goals again, but I think with why not put Jones in there, and I think they could eke out a win for sure. If Boston was the Boston of old, I think they would be having an axe to grind and would probably take care of business against us, but they're not. They're
No.
3 playoff teams out there right now on that in that division are obviously Florida, Tampa, and Toronto. Toronto is actually tied or very close to being tied with Florida. I think they are tied in points, and then after that, it's like Detroit, and then it's Boston. So it's early. I know it's early, but they usually Boston's at the top of that division. So we'll see what ultimately happens. There seems they don't have the depth they used to, and as much as I think Swayman has a future in the NHL, he's not Rask. At least
Yeah.
not yet.
No.
And that's one thing. That's a flyer killer right there, Rask. So
But
ultimately, we'll see what happens.
I don't like the way we sometimes play against up and coming goaltenders though.
Up and coming players in general, yes. I mean, that's a Philadelphia thing. Phillies make these young pitchers look like Cy Young candidates, and Flyers make these young goalies that nobody's ever heard of look like they're going to be the next coming of, Bernie Perrant. Like, it's unbelievable. Good point. Although they did take care of business the first time, but did that scoring dry up? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Before we go, do you think Ellis had anything to do with all those goals scored, even though he's a defenseman?
I don't know about all of them, but I do think he had something to do with a decent amount of them. I think his ability to just the breakout, a lot of the setting up in the zone that we were talking about them not being able to do is something that he's good at getting them to do.
Yes.
I think he can set up. I think teams give him kind of respect. Like if you're my game plan against the Flyers, if they're coming out of their zone, I want a full press coverage, like full press. Like we're on the full press coverage app, by the way. Full press, like you don't let anybody, whoever has the puck, just pressure them. They'll make mistakes. They always do that. Ellis is not a guy who will make mistakes like that. He's very smart with the puck. He knows what to do. He knows when you're faking at him, like where you just kind of like fake it, like you're going to pass and hold on to it and the guy turns around, or if you're actually coming and he either passes it or sidesteps you. And teams know that he's good like that, and they give him the respect. So he has ice and time and whatnot when things are settled down. He makes great first passes out of the zone, and he's just a hell of a player in his own right to make things happen just by jumping in on the play and whatnot. And I think a lot of him and his stability as a veteran defenseman who knows what to do in essentially every single situation, it leads a lot of credence to the team and to him, and really to allowing everybody else to do what they're supposed to do and let him kind of run it. And then they're set up and they start passing and they have better opportunities, because when they beat the Kraken, like I think 2 or 3 defensemen scored, Ellis being one of them. And since that game, it wasn't until the Provorov power play goal had a defenseman scored. And if your defense isn't really chipping in and it's strictly your offense, you're easier to defend, which is kind of why I like Sanheim jumping in so much with the play lately. He's got to finish at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to keep the other team honest. If it's football, you don't run the ball 3 downs and then punt. Like you have to change things up. You have to. So I do like that what he's meant to this team at full health. You literally see the change in play, and it was the same with Niskanen. When Niskanen ended the year, they had more setup too. So, and last year they were a complete cluster. What?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's everything, but I think it's a lot. I think it's a huge thing, and we don't know with Hayes yet. He's only played 2 games. We'll see. He has a goal in those 2 games, so we'll see how much of a stabilizing force he is. But I do think the defense is more important in that regard, because when Timonen and Pronger were here, and especially Timonen because he's here longer, he was that guy. Him and Ellis are almost parallels, like Nashville guys. They're smaller in stature, but hard knows how to play defense. Guys settles things down. Guy you look up to, and I just think that once we lost Timonen, you saw how this team took a tailspin. And even when they were winning games, it was in unethical ways, unorthodox ways, and that is not sustainable. So bringing in a guy like Ellis, having him play, will make massive changes going forward. That answer went on much longer than I thought it would. I apologize.
No. But you mean, I think I agree with you. I think. No, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why aren't we scoring goals? I'm trying to think of, like, the one thing that,
I think it's a huge
was
thing.
there in the beginning when we were, like, on a scoring frenzy in the beginning of the season. So,
Look at the Kraken game. I think it had a lot to do with that. And, other than that, it's been the second line was hot. And then when they cooled off, it was like, where'd the scoring go? The first line would chip in from time to time. Brassard or Atkinson would chip in from time to time. Atkinson recently had an overtime goal. Brassard had the goal against Washington. I think he had another one as well. But really, it's like you can kind of nitpick where, because they're not doing the 6 goal games, the 5 goal games, or even the 4 goal games. So it's like, where did the scoring go? And we know it's not the power play. The power play hasn't been good. So it's 5-on-5 stability plays. And I think Ellis has a lot to do with that. So ultimately, time will tell. He's out from 4 to 6 weeks, as we learned, which absolutely sucks. It really sucks. But you know what? Just keep your head above water. You got 3 points out of 6, and you still got a game to go. That's not bad. Then we'll focus on next week when it comes. We're going to take this game by game, week by week, and that's it. So
and just get through November and be happy.
Get through November. I looked at December schedule too, and I'm kind of like, ooh,
everyone's good. It's like the opposite of the NFL. Like, everyone is good.
I know. It's crazy when I see our division's record, whoever we're playing's record. I'm like, where are the bad teams then? How is everybody in the league 8-3? How does that make sense? How is every single team 8-3? Let's get it all out of the way now. We'll just knock it out, and then the Flyers are. I think only the Islanders have more back-to-backs. The Flyers are tied with two other teams with back-to-backs with 7 this season. That's tough. Like, you know what though? You got to be, if you're good, it shouldn't bother you too much. People are quick to give excuses, and with the injuries, I'll back off a little bit. But you know what though? Like, come on. Next week is when they have Florida and Tampa again. So we'll see Tampa again soon. That's going to be tough. Surprised to see what points to take away from that, but not to get too far ahead of myself. Give me a prediction on Saturday's game, and then we'll get out of here.
Prediction? We're going to win we're going to go to overtime again, and we're going to win in overtime.
If you'd have said in a shootout, that would have blown my mind.
No, we're not winning in a shootout.
So
we're going to win in overtime, and it's going to be like someone like Atkinson.
I mean, he definitely did it the other night against Calgary.
He should have got one tonight.
I know.
And he did it
So, all right. Yeah, I think I predict another close one. I don't think it'll be 6-3 on either end. I'm going to say I think Boston pulls out some BS here. I'll say they lose in the overtime. And whether it goes to overtime or shootout, I don't know. But I'll say it's like a 3-2 affair. Boston pulls it out.
That's exactly what I'm feeling. It's exactly what I feel. If it's like 3-2, like it just has that.
Well, I mean, it's the Flyers.
It's always that way.
It's not going to be 6-5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't keep up with that. So
it's not going to be 1-0 either.
Well, that's true. And Martin Jones is probably going to start. So as much as I like him, he's no Carter Hart.
But now that we see Martin Jones, I feel like there's a Martin Jones like shutout. Like in my I just feel that vibe too.
That would be great. Can you imagine? He just comes in there and shuts the door. Flyers look terrible, but get some BS 4th line goal, and they win the game 1-0 against the perfection line. That would be fantastic. Getting 5 out of 6 points this week would be massive. Be massive for this team in this month right now, because last week they only mustered 2 points. They beat a good team, so it was kind of like a 4-point swing with beating Calgary. So I kind of take some positive from that. But this week I was just like, oh my God, Tampa, Calgary, who embarrassed us the first time around. Boston's got an axe to grind. You take 5 out of 6 points, that's a win. I'll take that all day. So, well, we could keep going. I'm sure we could. I'll have to cut it short right now. Natalie, as always, thanks for joining me on the post-game show. If you're not on the post-game show, people think something's wrong.
I don't feel like I'm on that much. I feel like I've missed a lot.
It hasn't been as many games as I make it seem. But that'll do it, guys. Thanks for joining us on the HW post-game show. Flyers do fall short to the Lightning, but do salvage a point. We'll see you on Saturday. Thanks.